Hello and welcome to BiciMapas. This is the first video of a new series where we will learn how to train cycling after the age of 50. In a few days, I will turn 63, and I started mountain biking 30 years ago, with plans to continue for many more years. I came across a very interesting book on this topic, written by Joe Friel, one of the most recognized coaches in the United States and author of many training books, including his famous Training Bible series. This book is called Fast After 50, and it is based on the experiences that Friel himself, who is 81 years old and still active at the time of making this video, has lived and documented to stay in shape. Let's look at a summary of what I think are the most important points in this book. It starts by explaining the changes that occur due to aging, which decrease the ability to perform in sports, including loss of muscle mass, decreased aerobic capacity, and changes in hormone levels in the body. Although aging is inevitable, the decline in physical performance can be significantly slowed down. According to Friel, what you need to do as an athlete over 50 to stay in shape and competitive is do high-intensity training to increase aerobic capacity, known as VO2 max. This type of training stresses the body, which will eventually translate into improved fitness. Lift weights in the gym to stop the decrease in muscle mass and increase it. Maintain consistency by training at the appropriate frequency to improve fitness. Pay close attention to recovery, monitoring the effects of training sessions in relation to fatigue, and have planned rest periods. He also talks about other very important aspects such as nutrition, hydration, and maintaining a positive mental focus, creating realistic but challenging goals. He outlines a methodology that can be summarized in the following steps. The first is to establish your sports goal clearly, as it will be very important in later steps to generate a training plan that leads you to achieve it. Second, do high-intensity intervals. If you have never done them before or haven't done them in a long time, you should start gradually with a series of training sessions at your aerobic capacity level or VO2 max, once a week for several weeks until you get used to them and can incorporate other more advanced training sessions. This implies that you should know your VO2 max, either through a lab test or a lactate threshold field test, which the book details how to do. The data gathered will also be your starting point to measure your progress. The third is to create your training plan that includes certain concepts to consider when designing it, such as supercompensation. This involves a cycle, also called a block, of increasing the stress on the body through intense training sessions, ending with a recovery period that allows the body to strengthen and be prepared to handle higher efforts. For example, it can be a block consisting of 3 weeks of increased stress or load, plus 1 week of recovery, for a total of 4 weeks per block. Periodization. This involves planning the supercompensation cycles in such a way that the increase in stress or load on the body is gradual, allowing for an increase in fitness while eliminating the risk of overtraining, that can have very unpleasant negative effects. Although he does not provide specific training plans, he shares the tools needed to generate one if you are already familiar with training topics. Let's look at the components of the training plan. In a training session, the intervals to be performed are defined in terms of intensity and duration. He describes the following types of intervals used to build training sessions according to what is intended to be improved. Aerobic capacity intervals are the most intense and are used to improve VO2 max. Lactate threshold intervals, at a slightly lower intensity than the previous ones, to improve both your lactate threshold and VO2 max. Aerobic threshold intervals, which are not directly related to the factors that decrease with age but contribute to endurance and complement the training program. Recovery sessions, done at a very low intensity that does not generate stress. Additionally, there are weightlifting sessions that have their own scheme. A week consists of several training sessions distributed throughout the days. There are sessions with different intensity and duration goals, distributed to allow recovery periods within the week. Depending on the value of the intensity of the sessions, which Friel calls dose, and how frequent they are, which he calls density, he offers guidelines for managing traditional 7-day weeks, but also a different scheme of 9-day weeks, allowing for better distribution of dose and density, which becomes more important as age increases. There are load weeks and recovery weeks that become part of a training block. The blocks fit into periods of a season, ranging from preparation at the beginning of the season to being ready for the races or events in which you want to participate. The periods are aligned with what is considered a competition season in the Northern Hemisphere, particularly Europe and the United States, which usually starts in the early months of the year to be ready in the summer when the most important events take place, ending with periods of low activity. These are preparation period at the beginning of the year, with blocks focused on developing general fitness. Base period, also focused on general fitness, but increasing intensity. Build period, where the necessary aspects for the competitions or events in which you will participate are trained. Peak period, where training is fine-tuned to be in optimal condition for the event. Competition or event period, which is in the week when it will take place. Transition period, which is for recovery from the competition or event in preparation to start a new cycle of build, peak, competition if there are more in the plan. The fourth aspect is measuring performance, which is interspersed in different blocks during the corresponding periods. In general terms, he talks about 2 ways to measure performance. The first is with the data from each training session, such as duration, heart rate data, and power data if you have this option. The second is by performing specific tests for each component being developed, which he describes for aerobic threshold and efficiency, which can be done every week. Aerobic capacity and lactate threshold approximately every 6 weeks, usually scheduled within the recovery week of a block. I believe it is a great book that you should have in your collection if you are 50 years or older and want to improve your physical performance, especially if you already have prior knowledge of training programs and intensity measurement concepts with heart rate or power. Otherwise, it can be confusing and difficult to apply. In fact, at some point in the book, he states that he will not describe specific interval sessions for each endurance sport, nor a specific methodology for measuring intensity, so you must do it yourself or hire a coach. In the following videos of this series, I will share what I am doing to apply the concepts of this book using power as a way to measure intensity and plan workouts. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video to continue learning about these topics. Thank you for visiting.